get at it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, welcome to the Hasn't It Been 3 Days podcast. We've been talking about this podcast for more than 3 days. My name is Justin, and my co-host or host, depending on who's doing the recording, is BJ. BJ, welcome to our podcast.
Hey, it's about time. Has it been 3 days yet?
It's been about almost 30 years, to be honest with you.
30 years.
Um,
Hmm.
well, yeah, not quite yet.
We're
30
getting close.
years.
27, 28th year that we've been.
Well, it's 1997.
Yep. So
1997. But yes, this podcast is kind of out of the blue. The podcast name, it's been debated on what the name actually should be. Um, my wife of 23 years says that it should be hasn't been 3 days, or has it not been 3 days? I don't know who's right. I think we probably talked about this one time over Long Island's at Applebee's.
yeah, half price
So
appetizers.
yeah, half price appetizers after a softball game is probably when we talked about this. Um, so so yeah, so that's the origin of the podcast. Is BJ and I have been talking pretty consistently, except for his Western days. Um,
I wondered how long it would take us before we got into the history of our friendship, and we've already introduced how long we've been friends, longer than our both of our wives have existed in our relationships. And now you're pulling out the time that we weren't even
well, I'm
talking.
just
So yeah,
I'm
no,
just
it's
saying.
good.
I
We're
mean,
we're jumping right in.
we had a curveball moment where um, some decisions were made,
We're not
and
gonna go the friends route on episode one. We're not going to nickname
no, we're not
anyone
doing that. But
friends episode one.
so
So
with all that being said, BJ and I talk every day. If it's over any type of media, we talk consistently at work, and so I tend to forget who I've told things to.
mm-hmm.
And so over time, my wife is like, well, "You didn't tell me that," and I was, "Yeah, I did." And then it became, "Well, has it been 3 days?" Because I either talk about it with you, or I've talked about it with BJ about anything and everything. So that's kind of where the podcast came from. And recently we thought, oh, it'd be a great idea to start a podcast one night when we were talking, and my kids were around, and they started making fun of us that we were older people,
Yeah, yeah.
aging, wanting to start a podcast, that we have no need to start a podcast because they didn't think we're cool enough.
No, and
So,
and here's the following thing. It's we said on the phone that night because your kids they start laughing at us for no apparent reason when we're talking, and it's like, what are you laughing about? We're just telling stories of how we grew up, and there's some stories because your kids' age that you're still waiting to tell them the whole truth and nothing but the truth. So help you, Justin. But
yeah.
um, there's some that they got to be protected from. But they've gotten used to the fact that if BJ's on the phone with their dad, they know that it's going to be a while. So,
They
and
know it's going to be an hour long conversation, and
yeah,
um,
yeah,
there's going to be
there might
some
be some
massive
choice language.
hum-
Yeah,
humor
yeah.
that my kids are like, you guys are ridiculous. This is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard in my life.
But here's the
So,
thing. Here's the history of the day, right? Because if this is 3 days old, everybody and their dog and their dog's mom has a podcast. So why not us? And then your kids mention this, and we're like, yeah, let's do this. You create a visual. We'll throw the visual up for everybody to see when they find the podcast. And so when we send it out, here's the thing: we started with 2 followers, your two kids,
hmm
and the
and
slowly
my
and your
wife,
wife,
yeah.
and they
And she's,
want to hear the train wreck, which let's be honest, I mean, probably most everybody wants to hear the train wreck. But then we mention it to
oh
other
my,
people, and people are like, "Yeah, I'd listen to that." So here we go. I
yeah.
know
And
for a fact we are going to have at least 10 listeners to this first podcast. And we're going to sit here and say, you know what? Has it been 3 days? We're going to look like geniuses as we talk about what's happened 3 days ago.
Yeah, I
And
mean,
it's going to be great, you know? So
yeah, you're 100% right. I think I maybe I'll have a cool factor to my family finally.
there you get some street cred at home, you know, whatever that
Yeah, I
goes
mean,
for.
it probably won't go very far.
Yeah, well, you know, it's at
Um,
least worth the effort. So
yeah, so 3 days old news. So the concept of this podcast, we're going to talk. We talked about how it started. Our goal is to talk about news that is potentially 3 days old, and that's what we pitched to people, and they're like, "That's an interesting concept," because
it,
everybody's already forgot about it because social media is so fast
yeah,
that you're like, "I don't even know what happened yesterday,"
yeah.
and
The
like,
24-hour
well,
news cycle, we're going to reduce to making it a 72-hour update is what we're going to do.
okay,
And,
yeah,
and people, like you just said, people have forgot about it, but we're going to bring it back up because that's what we all like to do is live in the past. So here we go. We're going to live in the past. And then, you know, we're going to see what comes of it. Here's the other thing. We're going to start that way, but it's not going to stay there because when you and I talk, we talk for hours and then who knows what's going to come up. So we have an outline. We want to cover some things. We want to do some, we're going to talk about what we care about. So it may not even be news anybody cares about, but you know what? It's our
yeah,
podcast, so we can do whatever we want. So,
yeah,
um,
100%. And we'll do. We're gonna try to. We're gonna try to find some sponsors. They may or may not be extinct. Who knows?
well, you just
But
mentioned the
because
first one. I wondered how that was even going to go, and you mentioned the first one. You already threw Applebee's out there. So if you're listening,
yeah,
Applebee's,
Applebee's. Yeah,
neighborhood bar
Applebee's.
and
Like,
grill. Mhm.
yeah. You know, your wings are about the only thing I would tolerate eating. At this moment. No
Hey, don't bash
offense.
our first sponsor.
I'm being real. Like, if I walked into an Applebee's and somebody asked me what I want to eat, I would say I'll probably just take your wings. Probably not heavy sauce and some ranch. That's all I want. And you know, we used to get them for what, 5.99 or whatever. They're probably $40 now.
Yeah, before
So
inflation.
that's why we need a sponsor because they'll
Yep.
probably give us free wings.
And
Um,
and we both really would love to quit our day job. So the more sponsors we can get, this would be great to let this really fly.
yeah,
So
it would be really interesting to see how we would do this full time because wowzers, that's man, whew,
who
that'd be
knows?
interesting.
Who knows?
My
This
my son said tonight, he's like, "Dad, what if?" And I said, "When our podcast blows up, what are we gonna do?" And BJ even said tonight earlier when we talked, he told my daughter, he's like, "Well, we're gonna have to figure this out because when we're at the Radio Row for a Super Bowl, we're gonna
hmm
have to figure this out."
yeah.
So, um,
I'm
I
thinking.
mean,
Here's the goal, Justin. Here's our first goal for publication. So if you're listening, Big Brother, please pay attention to this. We would really like to be on Radio Row for the first ever college football playoff of
oh
12
yeah, good
teams,
call.
and especially as huge as the the now new college football video game has come out. Um, you and I have been playing that game across the hall from one another, literally across the
Literally,
hall,
yes,
while your wife yelling at us that she was hungry for dinner. And
yeah.
I kept a PlayStation 3 for the last 11 years only to play that game. So,
You're 100% right. I mean, I played a revamp version of the NCAA game on PlayStation 4 just to play it, and I did that for. I mean, I retired 3 times in that game because I played it so much. So yeah, that would be awesome if this thing blows up, or not if, when this thing blows up,
yeah.
and we're at what is considered Radio Row for college football playoff.
hmm
Um, Wherever that's the championships. I'm like, I don't even know where it's at. It's probably going to be in Dallas because that's where everything's at.
Sure.
Jerry's
Yeah.
World,
Jerry's
that
World.
literally, Jerry's World, that literally has a Walmart in his backyard. I don't know if you've ever been there, but
Which would
it
be
has a Walmart,
it'd be great for
which
you
would be,
because that's you're a Cowboys fan. So a little history on Justin, just a closet
yeah,
Cowboy
yeah,
fan, and we still pray for
yeah,
him. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I mean, hoping one time that we can do something. Um, yeah, I mean, it's sad that the Broncos, which oh yeah, BJ's a Broncos fan.
Yeah.
That he's had more Super Bowls, um, wins and visits than the Cowboys have in the last few years. Um, yeah, but right now I don't know. That team is quite interesting. So
Yeah, we maybe we shouldn't start with the Broncos when it comes to sports, or the Cowboys when it comes to sports, and
no, probably not because we might start swearing.
and then that's the thing about this podcast is we're going to talk a lot of sports, but the teams that we cheer for are not historically recent winners. So
Oh no,
um, that's another thing that I thought would be a cool thing to add to this podcast. So a little history on Justin and I is we have been friends since 1997. 1997, my family moved to Lincoln, Nebraska, and one of the first people that we saw was Justin Rabel. So, and he's been a friend ever since. I probably shouldn't have used your last name. Huh? Sorry about that.
too late now. I
You,
guess I guess they're all gonna find me.
you
You
can
get
you
is
can edit
anybody
it.
just find me on the LinkedIn,
There you
please.
go. There you go. So it
I'm not
was.
on any other socials. I'm only on LinkedIn,
I got to tell
which
this
is a
story
lie.
though. I got to tell this
Go
story
ahead, go
because
ahead.
1997 we moved to Lincoln, Nebraska. If anybody knows anything about Lincoln, Nebraska, in the month of November it is cold in Lincoln, Nebraska, and we moved from Colorado to Lincoln, Nebraska, and we pull in on a Sunday. We were not yet at the church yet, but we got there. We got home. It was a Sunday, and Justin came out from church, and it was Sunday afternoon. And he knocks on our back door of our house, and we're like, "Who's at our door?" And there's Justin at our door, and he says, "Hey, you want to go play basketball?" And I said, we going to a gym or no? Out you're back in the church parking lot. I said, "It's November 23rd." Yeah, I know. Let's go. So we went, and I think I just lost Justin. So I'll just keep telling the story. um, so Justin came in, and we went and played basketball. You must have hit the wrong button, didn't you?
Dude, I was just on and then all of a sudden said, "Hey, you're not
Okay,
on here
no problem.
anymore."
I just kept talking, and so
And
yeah, we're at the part where,
I
yeah.
figured you did. Well, it's probably good that I left because I probably would have interrupted you 12,000 times like I do in any conversation we
So
have.
I met Justin
But
at playing basketball in the freezing cold on our first day in Lincoln, Nebraska, and then I got to expand this.
it was
It
like a
kind of
blind
was,
date.
but here's the really cool thing, and this it's cool to me. I say this almost 30 years later. I don't know if I've ever told you this, Justin, but it hasn't been three
Uh,
days, so it's
True. It's been 30
so we moved
years.
from Pueblo, Colorado, where that's where I kind of grew up and considered that hometown. And when we moved to Lincoln, Nebraska, my dad was from Nebraska, and when we went to register for school, he told me, he said, when we go walk in here, it's going to be different than what you're used to in Colorado. And I'm like, okay, whatever. I didn't know what he meant. Then we walk into East High in Lincoln, Nebraska, go Spartans. And the first person walking down the hall that we saw was Justin Rabel. So not only did I see him on,
Which, hang on a second. Yeah, which is amazing because I
I was
barely
just
went to
going to say,
school. So you
yeah,
caught me on a good day.
it was probably in the middle of class and he wasn't in class, but he did show us where the office was. That might have been a foreshadowing moment that he knew
Yep,
where the office was. But we got to the office and he
probably.
helped us out. And so I have, like Justin said earlier, we have been talking virtually almost every single day for 30 years, and minus a few hiccups that we can get into as the years go by of this
Oh,
podcast.
other.
So,
Yeah. I mean, we might have to do a breakdown. We might have to, we might look into having breakdowns of things that happened in the years that we got to know each other too. I mean, we have 30, that could be something interesting. I wouldn't remember half of
mm,
it, but um, yeah, I mean, there's been some rough moments for our lives, and those are things that when we start opening up about
mhm.
things, and if that's what people want to hear, we'll talk about it. I mean, we're like you said, we're gonna be real. I mean, we're real with each other all day, every day. Um, we don't hold anything back. Uh, I think we hold things back for a little bit because we understand what the other person may be
Hmm.
going through. And so, but it always comes out about what
Usually
we
in
need
three
to
days.
talk about. So yeah, I mean, 3 days. Yeah, that's it's kind of the key. It's like sometimes we say that because sometimes it honestly is like there's times where I'm golfing on a Friday, I don't talk to you, and we don't talk till
Yeah,
Monday.
yeah,
So that's like
yeah,
three
yeah.
days.
And I think
So
before we get into all that, I mean, that's a good history and advance to what we will get into because that's how we talk. We just talk about what's happening and what's hitting us, and sometimes it's serious. Sometimes we sit there and laugh for an hour. So it's good. But some other things that people need to know about you and I in our friendship, I think they need to know that we have worked together and at how many different places did we talk about the other day that we've worked together at? Here comes some
uh,
endorsements, right? So we got
well,
some of them are
yeah.
closed. So
So yep. So rest in peace, Kmart. But you can come back if you want. Um, we worked at Kmart together. We worked at a place called Hastings Entertainment together. We worked at
Nelnet,
uh, Nelnet, and
State
we worked at
Farm,
State Farm together. Um,
and I've hired you as a
and
consultant for a couple of jobs I've had, and so yeah,
yep. Yeah, so we've our jobs have intertwined and our lives have intertwined, and like BJ says, I worked as a consultant on the side for BJ and for what he was doing, and um I mean, probably regrets
no,
it, but uh
no,
but so like a true friendship, it's just one of those things that you um it's yeah, and well, we also
that's
lived
true.
together
Yeah,
even when
yeah.
I was married. So like when I was married and we moved back to Lincoln, Nebraska, when me and my wife lived in Kansas City for a little bit, when we moved back, BJ lived with us, and that's what BJ was talking about. We used to play PlayStation across the hall. I mean, we literally had I had my man cave, and BJ had his room, and it was at the end of the apartment we lived at. And my wife, we didn't have kids at the time. She would always just yell at us like constantly, like "You boys, get out of here and go make me dinner." And she would say, "BJ, never make me dinner ever again."
We don't need to go there
And
either.
that's be- that's because BJ's culinary skills weren't up to
Not
par
yet, not
yet.
yet. They've improved. They've
Neither were
improved.
mine. So we can talk about our favorite dishes
Yeah,
later on.
recipes in the note.
But so yeah, yeah. Recipes in the note. But yeah, so we just kind of yeah. I mean, we've literally done life together, even though we've lived. Um, we've really in our 30 years haven't lived together in the same city that many
No,
years.
that, that's another thing we
I
haven't said either. I mean, where do you hail from?
I'm in Lincoln, Nebraska still. I haven't. I left for a little bit, lived in Kansas City, but we've I've kind of just lived and grew up in Lincoln and staying here right now at this moment.
So
And BJ's been I don't know. We should keep a
yeah,
list or
unfortunately, and it's very long. And unfortunately, for my kids' sake, we sit here and talk about how many different houses we've lived in over their years, and how many times I've moved around, and it's been a lot. And then I've moved my kids around a lot. But currently, I'm in Oregon, the great state of Oregon, and so this is good for me because I get 2 hours earlier than Justin is on these podcasts. So he's ready for bed. I'm still going strong. We kind of make it work. It'll work out. But yeah, what's been really cool is that our friendship has lasted miles and miles and years. And Justin and Becky have always made it a point to come around and visit. And I think they've been to everywhere we've been except currently Oregon. So we got to
currently
get you
nope.
out here.
Nope. I've already put it out there that I want to come out there for my birthday to play golf, and my wife pretty much told me to go
Yeah.
fly a kite. She didn't say into power lines
Well,
yet,
what
but
people don't realize either
she
is that
did.
your birthday is in December, and so playing golf in Oregon in December is not a good idea either. So
Well, but it's probably better than playing in
true,
Lincoln,
very true.
Nebraska.
Yeah.
Can you imagine trying to find a white golf ball in
Hold
Lincoln in
on. Here's a
December?
story now. Let's break out into story. So
Oh, jeez, here we go. Okay,
play,
story
playing golf in
time.
Lincoln, Nebraska, you can play in all four seasons of the weather in the same day. And Justin
A
and I
hundred
did
percent.
that one day.
100.
We were in high school. I don't know if you were still in high school or we're
High school? What's high school? I would go to high school.
uh, yeah. um,
Uh, okay, this is
yeah,
where it goes off
that's
the
okay.
rails
That's all right.
sometimes. But yes, we were golfing. I don't remember now. I
I
think I
think
was
you
out of
were
high
too.
school.
You
I
were
think
just out of
I
high
had
school.
just
I was getting ready
graduated.
to go try out for the golf team. And so we wanted to go play 9 holes at the course that the tryouts were at for the East High golf team, Go Spartans. And um, we went out on was it a Saturday? I can't remember.
I think it
We go out there
was.
and the
I think
weather
it
was
was.
awful. It was like 40 degrees. The rain was coming down sideways, but it didn't start that way. We knew it was going to be cold. We started, and I remember getting about halfway through our 9 holes, and literally the rain was coming down sideways. Um,
Yeah, it was like we were playing in um like the
yeah,
British
yeah.
Open.
And the thing is,
Um,
it wasn't even the right course, number one. And I found out later. And then number
well,
two, I got sick from playing golf that day in the rain and couldn't even go to tryouts.
we both got we both got sick, and then we went to a local
Yeah,
burger place.
we don't need them as an
Um,
endorsement. I'm
and
sorry.
well, we could. I mean, their food is so
Okay, if you
good.
say so.
BJ refuses
Yeah,
to eat it. It is Don and Millie's, their local franchise. But for I don't know, 20 some years, BJ literally won't eat there because he thinks that's what got him sick, not the
yeah, it's true.
freezing cold rain and wearing shorts and t-shirt while we're playing
Yeah,
golf. Like pneumonia is what took us away, and he's like, no,
but that's
the burger I
pneumonia
had.
is not. That wouldn't be the first time we dealt with pneumonia in our friendship either. So, but that's a
No,
whole nother story for a different time.
no,
So,
and it might be something you might have to clue me in because
oh yeah, then
I
it's
don't
a
know.
different time. No, no problem. So, yeah, so we have had
But
a lot of experiences visiting each other and playing golf together. And so, yeah, when Justin and his family can come out, they're always welcome to come out. And we'll take you to some of the local eateries around here. Where I live, there's no chain restaurants, and so shout out to all of the hole in the wall places that are incredible good food out here. The Portland metro area is well known for its eateries, so and wine. So if you're a wine drinker, I'm not a big wine drinker, but come on out. We got world renowned wine. So I have worked for a winery, two of them. That's a different story too. But
well, you hung
I
Christmas
done
lights
Christmas.
too.
I've done a lot in the last couple of
Like,
years for sure. Now we have a podcast, so we're really moving up.
well, I mean, we're I don't know. We might I don't we might have a list of places we've worked and done that could rival a lot of things. I mean, you can put. I mean, I worked for a water distill
Hmm.
company. Um, we never detasseled. I don't think you
No.
detasseled. Uh, you worked for a
Hmm.
daycare. I never worked at a
Yeah.
daycare.
Did
What
you ever
else we
work at a
got?
grocery store? I worked at a grocery store.
Oh, I did. I one of my first jobs prior to knowing
Oh
you,
yeah, you worked at Hy-Vee.
um, was
Yeah.
working at Hy-Vee.
I
Yeah,
worked at Leon's
yeah.
Food
I
Mart.
remember
Go Leon's.
you. You did work at
Hmm.
Goulian's. Um, good meat. Well, good meat up until the butcher Roy
Yeah. Good
left.
friend.
But
Shout out to Roy. Roy
you
Toy.
know, yeah, Roy Toy. That's not
No,
made up, by the way. His
that's
name
his
is
real
Roy
name. Look him
Toy.
up. He's on Facebook. I'm just
Um,
giving a shout out to Roy. He's a great guy. So
yeah, he might have a LinkedIn, but he's retired, so I don't
yeah.
know.
Hey, we
Uh,
should send him the link to this podcast
it's
since you
just
mentioned him, so he can listen.
oh jeez. Do you think he even? he there's no way he
Oh yeah,
remembers
he
us. He
does.
remembers you. There's
I
no way he
ran
remembers
into
me.
him. Here, okay, I ran into him a couple of years ago. I've got friends in Estes Park, and he moved to Estes Park for a while, and um,
Okay.
I had reached out to one of his daughters and asked if he was still in the area. I didn't get to see him that day, but I did see him about a year later. So yeah, I've ran. They remember us. They remember you too. Yeah. How can you forget?
I know. They don't live very far. He didn't live very far from my parents' house, so um but
Yeah,
yeah.
lots of good memories with the Toy
Um
family.
yeah. We yeah, good old stories about the Toy family. Do you remember when their daughter Alicia and your sister used to wear those
Mm.
overalls, and then like I used to go pick them up as kids? Like they were, I don't know how much younger than I am, and I'm fairly tall, 6 foot 6'1", somewhere in that range, 6.5. Let's just say 6.5. And they were just kids, right? I mean, that would
They
put
were
Beth
teenagers.
and Alicia, what, teenager, but I like how young. I mean, they're
Yeah,
younger than me. They're like my sisters, right? Your sister was like a sister to me, so you just pick on them. I remember picking them up by their overalls and just like carrying them around your house. Oh my gosh! And I also remember ripping your sister's overalls right in half, and I
yeah,
felt bad for that.
yeah.
It's a good story, but yeah. So yeah, they don't they didn't
No,
forget about me.
no. Good.
That's for sure. And I still see one of the daughters, uh Roy's daughter, Sharice, is still
Yeah,
around. So
I
I see her every
yeah,
weekend.
which is really
So
cool. I saw Alicia this past year. Her and her family were RVing and came about. We're plugging people we probably shouldn't plug, but that's they're good people, good friends,
I
and we
mean,
had great memories with them for sure. So shout out to Roy
so
Toy and
yeah,
his daughters Sharice and Alicia and their families. God bless you.
yeah, amen. Well, um, yeah. So that's kind of the deal. Um, we yeah. I mean, we're not going to spill everything
No,
in this
no,
podcast because that's
no.
not going to
There's
be
some
fun.
background.
But we
Yeah,
should
go ahead.
talk. We should talk about like something that like let's get into the 3 day old news. We talked about here's the background of why we're doing it, and we're out to just give somebody some fun. It'll probably be our friends and family, like you said, but I know my brother, when I told him, he was like, "Are you guys serious? I thought you were joking." And you'll hear about my brother in this podcast over the
I
years
really think
because
Nate should
he's
be our first guest. I really think Nate should be our
I
first
don't
guest.
I don't man that okay, so that's gonna be the thing. That could be our biggest argument about who our
True,
first guest is
true.
gonna be.
Um,
We will get to a point where we will have that first guest, but my there's some people who've told me that they need to be the
oh,
first
really?
guest. Um, yeah, I mean they're 12 years old, like my
Okay,
son.
well, that's
So I don't know what he's gonna talk about or what he's gonna bring to it, but we might have. I think it'd be cool if we got to a point where we have all of our kids on at the same time, like on the
yeah,
conversation. I think
yeah.
that'd be kind of
No,
fun.
I think that would be awesome, and we could interview each one of them individually, and they all have. We That's the thing. I mean, in all seriousness, we both Justin and I, we love our kids, we love our family, and we're thankful for them. So yeah, that's great, and especially since your kids were instrumental in the podcast starting. So maybe that's a good point. We should have them on first. Nate can wait. He's mine.
Yeah, Nate's always been, well, slow. I mean, only because he he runs flat-footed. That's the only reason why.
Yeah,
He does walk loud. He
yeah.
runs loud. I don't know if he runs a lot anymore, but he used to run
I
loud.
don't think he runs anymore.
Um, but
He's too
no,
old.
I mean I don't know. I haven't
Yeah,
seen. Well, unless he has diarrhea, he
that's
might be
true.
running
Or
then.
yeah.
Most people do though.
Anyway, yeah. Let's talk about the Olympics.
Yeah.
What's on
Let's.
your mind with what's happened as we've had closing ceremony
Okay.
Sunday?
So So, so 3 days. All the news for the Olympics is what we're going to talk about tonight. The closing ceremonies, I literally watched nothing of it. I saw a clip on Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it, of Tom Cruise jumping off the top of the arena, the stadium.
Like Mission
Um,
Impossible style.
I didn't know.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know if he's promoting a movie. I don't get it. I don't know what he has to. Maybe he has connections to France. I don't know. I did read that France lost like 2 or maybe $8 billion for the Olympics, and so there's this big debate about why do you want to do the Olympics when you all you do is lose money.
And you
I
build.
don't know. Other than that, I didn't really
Yeah.
watch. Yeah, and they build so much stuff, and they don't. It just
Hmm.
sits around
Yeah, it's probably
for
pretty it's pretty
years.
a pretty wasteful endeavor ultimately, just to have 2 weeks of glory, if you want to call it that.
I mean, I think you just put it back in Greece. I mean, you already have the Colosseum. I mean, you try to get those people to run track around there with all that stuff falling down. I think it would be like the steeple horse
Yeah,
races.
yeah. Then you might get people that are going to argue that you got to have, if you're going to go back for that kind of nostalgia and reasoning, then you probably need to go back to. No, I'm not even going to say it. Yeah, that would make
Well,
sense.
so here's here's the thing. Why don't they just build a
Yeah,
place that just does winter and summer Olympics
and
all the
make it
time?
the.
Because at some point, yeah, at some point, every place is going to have it. Los Angeles is going to get it soon. Salt Lake City is going to host it. Um, but those places, I mean, they've hosted it once. I mean, the Winter Olympics were what in New York one time, and they literally never use any of those parks that are there, and they're either torn down or, um, I mean, LA when they host it here soon, they're going to repurpose an old outdoor swimming pool that they used back in the Olympics when the last time it was there. But yeah, I don't for what it costs countries to put on the Olympics. I don't know what they gain out of it besides
Yeah.
tourism. I think that's all it is nowadays is
Has
tourism.
it? Do you think it's
Um,
become? I was thinking about this because one of the things I wanted to bring up was just the competition for the medal count. So yeah, Justin's showing a clip of the breakdancing champion. Um,
the medal count, yeah.
but
Sorry.
to your point about location, it's a popularity contest based on who has the economy to host these things. You're not going to put, Turkey's never going to host the Olympics. All of these third world countries aren't going to host. Now, God bless them for sending athletes, albeit that's great. But then how are these countries like the USA and China, and we get into this, you know, match about medal count. It's like, well, no wonder we won all the medal count. We have 9 million athletes compared to other people's two. If you're not winning
Yeah.
and you have the biggest constituency, then there should be something wrong with you. So I don't know that we should be proud as Americans that we won the medal count when we probably had. I don't know. I didn't look up the stats, but we probably had more athletes than any other country too.
Well, yeah, I probably agree with that. Yeah. Uh, yeah, I think I heard a lot of things from people they really loved. So I'm an NFL fan, and they do NFL Red Zone. So for NBC this year on Peacock, they did what they called Gold Zone, which is literally like an NFL Red Zone for the
Mm,
Olympics. So they would jump around and do matches that were gold medal matches or gold medal events. And I heard that was really cool. That's probably how I would watch it if I was going to
hmm
watch it. I wouldn't want to sit oh, I did tell BJ this. I did sit and watch men's volleyball one night till 12:30 because I thought it was a good match. Not realizing that the match was already over and I could have just went to bed. But because I didn't process in my head that, oh, that happened that morning because of the time difference. But yeah, I didn't really watch it. I mean, I read a lot of things on Twitter. The biggest thing that people are talking about is the pole vaulter that knocked down the pole with
Hmm.
um, his
Yeah,
package. Um, and then the lady who breakdanced, like she was a cat that had an itch on her back. Like I I don't know how she got Australia to send her,
I
but
appreciated
more
the
power to her.
Turkish sharpshooter. I mean,
Oh
to
yeah, the
roll
dude
in with
with the
sweatpants and a t-shirt and just kind of gangster, you know, aim his gun and there he
gangster
goes.
shot. Yeah,
It's like, man, that guy, and that good for him. Silver medal. Good job, Turkey. But
yeah, and but that comes with the caveat is that guy does really well, and then you see somebody else from another country, and they literally have all these like spy
hmm.
glasses and contortion things to hold their arm in straight, and you're like, you wouldn't have time to put that on if you were trying to get a
Yeah,
deer or
yeah.
something, like
It's
whatever.
Olympic sports. I
But
like the Olympic sports because it's a different sport, and we can look forward to it. I've had a lot of conversation. Now, I got to put this caveat in here as we talk about the Olympics, and I didn't watch one thing of the Olympics, and there's multiple reasons why, but it was mainly because I just didn't have a TV package that had it. So therefore, shout out to Paramount, or not Paramount, Peacock. You want to be a sponsor of,
Peacock,
Has It Been 3 Days podcast? Please, I could use the help. Um,
yeah,
but I didn't watch a single thing, but I heard a lot of chatter about different things that happened. As my prior career path, I heard a lot about the opening ceremonies, heard a lot about some of the things that took place in the different events. Pole vaulting, my dad was a pole vaulter, and my daughter was a pole vaulter. So track and field, my son runs track, and so those things are near and dear to me because these are event. What I'm getting at is these are events that the way the Olympics were formed was amateur athletes were doing these things, and so
correct.
when you see an amateur athlete at the highest level competed in the world stage. It's pretty incredible. And I was thinking about this. I don't know if I was talking to anybody about it. Maybe I talked to you about it. I don't remember. But what 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 is that feeling to be able to put on the USA uniform or your country's uniform? We both went to high school with a guy that, and I won't mention his name because I don't want to get him in trouble. But he went to high school with us and then dual citizenship and got to go to the Olympics and played in the Olympics and got to play against these NBA players that he never would have played against because he went and chose to go play over in Australia and made a name for himself. Those are pretty cool stories when you can see somebody that you've grown up with or that you had connection with and watch them. It pulls you in. The Olympics pulls us in. And that was some
Yeah,
of the conversation I got in. I got into this conversation with a family member. It's like this is nostalgia because it brings the family together. And the Olympics is one of those things where it happens every 2 years, rotating season seasonal Olympics. But every 4 years, the Summer Olympics happens, and we can sit around the TV, we can watch the Gold Zone as you mentioned, but we're what are we doing? We're watching it with our family, with our kids. We're
with the
seeing things
family.
that
Yeah,
it gives us opportunity to talk about things, which to me that's never a bad thing. People say, "Well, this was bad. This was horrible. I'm going to boycott it." That's your choice. Good for you, but it's given us a conversation starter, and I'm so thankful for people in this world, people I've never met before. But when we're open minded to have a conversation, things can things can be productive, and I'm thankful for that and what the Olympics
yeah.
brings.
Just just boycott the opening ceremonies. Just don't watch it. Watch the sports because what they did at the opening ceremonies, whatever. Like that's their choice. They have to eat crow for that one, and uh, that's on them. That it's egg in their face. They just want to be that way. Yeah, boycott that. Don't boycott the whole thing because you're technically saying I'm boycotting against athletes who do this to do it once or twice because of the rotation it comes around for them.
Yeah,
So,
and so I mean, you
but
brought it up. I wasn't going to say anything, but because of my past career, this was a question that was brought to me right away. Um, those of you that are listening and know I was a former pastor. and in church ministry for 12 years full time, and somebody immediately responded to me and said, "What do you think of what happened?" And I have to be quick to rush to judgment in those places. You're right; they have to be accountable for what they did, the Olympic Committee, and what they put on there in the opening ceremonies. But I read a piece from somebody. I wish I would have gathered his name. I don't. So this is bad journalism on my part. But another pastor who said, "You know what? Yes, is this a disgrace to the Christian faith? Maybe so, but the Christian faith worships Jesus, and we are thankful for Jesus as our Savior, Jesus as the Lord of our life. And that's a table that was depicted in the opening ceremonies that my Jesus that I serve and worship would have sat at. That's a table
Yeah,
he would have
100%.
been at. And for us to get totally up in arms of the embarrassment it was, I heard another one say, as a Christian, we should be almost thankful. Well, and I said this to my staff as it was brought up at work. I said, as Christians, we're part of a faith community that our Bible tells us we will be persecuted. You will face troubles. You will be persecuted. Consider it pure joy. There's so many things that it says about persecution in it. They could not have done that to any other world religion and it been okay. But it's okay that they did it
No.
to Christians
Oh,
because we're taught by Jesus, who said and taught us, turn the other cheek, walk the extra mile, give the coat off your back. And why? Because you're going to face persecution. He came so to
yeah.
me, I get why people are up in arms about it. It is a sacrament that we practice. It is sacred, but it's also one of those opportunities where we could say, as Christ followers, I serve a Jesus that would have sat at that table. Yeah.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. And it opens up that line of communication with people that you may not have known what their views are because something like this only could happen that people talk. It's the one driving piece that depiction and then the type of sporting event it is, most people don't talk about it unless it's like the Olympics because everybody's like, oh, yeah, I know everything about the
Yeah.
Olympics, so it does bring in those office water cooler talks
Yeah, and
essentially.
so and this is
Um,
that's the thing, and I think as we talk about certain things 3 days later, it's going to be one of those things, and we don't need to spend probably more time on it since we didn't watch much of it. But uh, as
no,
as
you're
we
fine.
continue
Yeah.
to kind of outline this podcast format for our audience, that there was a lot of talking points there, and that's what we want to bring to you. We want to be able to bring in our viewpoint, our vantage point, what we thought. There's, again, just like the world we live in, and especially out where I live, it's you do you can have your viewpoint. I think that's what I think that's where growth comes too. As we think about it, we have to be able to say, you know what, I don't agree with that, but it's okay. And if you want to come at me and persecute me, guess what? It's okay. I'm going to be okay with it because I know that I can extend grace and love in different ways. So yeah, and like you said, it's a talking point because it happens every 4 years. They have to grab us. In our day and age, everybody's about the clickbait,
Yeah.
right? And get the ratings, get all of these things going. And the reality of it is it's over. It's now it's 3 days over, more than that, and so we're sitting here and
Yeah,
we're
yeah,
we're still talking
exactly.
about it because it is polarizing. It is one of those things that is gonna, and so that's what we want to bring you. Just some of our viewpoints. Agree, disagree, it doesn't really matter. If you disagree and you want to take it up with us, you can write
If
us.
you,
It's
yeah,
just like on The Office.
yeah, if you want to disagree about anything we talk about it, like please share this podcast and give us your opinion out loud because I mean you're not gonna hurt our feelings. We've been through a lot of things. I mean BJ already said my last name, so whatever.
Sorry,
But
we edit that out.
uh, no, you're fine. No, you're. I don't really care. I don't got anything to hide. My skeletons are all out. Um, so's my weenus. Um, so uh, so yeah. No, anyways. Yeah. I mean, we're just gonna have fun with it, and we will get into these deep conversations sometimes, and sometimes we won't. We'll talk about movies we liked and quotes that you'll hear a lot of Anchorman,
Yeah.
for sure. We might, I don't know, how this will all jive and move forward,
We want to
but we
we want to
go
bring
ahead.
some comedic relief if that's what's sitting there, but we also want to be real, and we want to bring some things that have mattered to both Justin and I and our family and our history, and maybe you can relate to it, maybe you can't, and we'll get through that. And there's times where we can help each other in that. And the whole point of this podcast is not to make money and make it explode like whatever. We're not influencers by any means. However, we just want to put something out there that could maybe be entertaining, but also maybe one of us says something and we're just like, wow, I never thought of it that way. So that's the goal here.
Yeah, and you will find that there are times where it'll probably be BJ a lot. He'll have these deep thoughts and great points, and then um, we're not videotaping this right now. BJ and I see each other while we're talking, but he we might be on video later. You'll probably see me have like this moment in my brain where my brain's just getting ready to be like, I need to throw in a little something here. And you might find these moments where I'm really quiet because I'm really holding back. That's kind of what I've learned over the years. But that's who I am. BJ was talking about living where he was living earlier and about you doing you and being able to do things. And I said, well, I wanted to butt in just a second ago. Well, you guys were literally the state of Oregon finally said you could pump your own freaking gas
Yeah,
recently. So you do you. I mean, it took you guys a long time to be able to pump your
it's
own gas. I mean,
it's not all it.
congratulations.
I would go
Um,
back in a heartbeat. It's great that somebody else pumps your own gas. I'm just gonna say it. It's
yeah, but you don't tip or you
no,
don't tip
no,
them at all.
it's
No,
great.
yeah, and so yeah, I think you're okay to
Yeah,
pump your own gas.
yeah.
Um, you could be like what's his name in Zoolander, and he started pumping the gas everywhere because he thought it was a party, and then he blew himself up and died.
Don't do
Yeah,
that.
don't do that. Um, yeah, I don't. We don't endorse that. We don't endorse BP oil and their gas being sprayed in
Mm.
the air to cause. Yeah, we
we,
don't want to
we would
endorse that.
endorse
So,
BP gas if
um,
they want to give us some gas cards. I am
yeah,
commuting
we
40
would.
minutes
Yeah,
one way, so I will take some gas cards.
and yeah, that would be good. I mean, I have to drive my daughter further for high school
Yeah.
now, so, yeah, yeah. So, anyways, yeah, I don't. So, anyways, yeah, other news. There wasn't really much. Like the three we talked about the Olympics a little bit, but other than that, we just talk about things. We talk about stories. We'll have stories about me and BJ, with our friends. Uniquely, BJ. When I moved away, BJ became closer with my brother a lot. So you heard a lot of those stories intermixed. It might be confusing on which Rabel. I already said it again. Which Rabel brother that BJ hung out with. Um, or I might forget that that's
Well,
who. I hear all these
when
stories
we
third
when
hand.
we get Nate on the podcast, we're going to be able to go through all of Nate's nicknames, and so we'll be able to refer to him differently so that there won't be confusion. But yeah, that's to come. How's that for a little foreshadowing, little cliffhanger. Um,
Yeah,
let
right.
him hang on for that one. We also got some other people. We're going to need to wrap this up. We're coming up on. We want to keep this kind of close to an hour, so where if you are commuting, um, you can listen to a full episode while on your way to work or on your way home. And so that's a goal for us there, but we'll get there. Um, so yeah, there's going to be some of just those stories and those things, and we also want to look 3 days ahead. So if there's something going on, Justin and I are both sports fans, so we will talk about um, the football season, pro and college, and we will make sure that I want to do. I haven't run this by Justin yet, but we want to I want to do some predictions similar to some of my podcasting heroes such as Tony Kornheiser and um, Colin Cowherd, Jim Rome. some of those that we've listened to over the decades. But I want to do some forecasting sports wise with Justin as we look 3 days ahead to the weekend upcoming, and then we'll correct it all the next week because we can go back and talk about 3 day old news like it was yesterday. So that's the goal. That's what we want to accomplish. And if you want to hang around with us for a few of these, we'd love to have you join us.
Yeah, I second all that. Um, and the party's even better when you bring pizza.
Uh,
So we'll have to figure out how that
which
works.
endorsement do we
Because
want for pizza?
you know what? I don't know because we don't have the same pizza places.
True.
Uh, I mean, I wish Pizza Hut would bring back the bucket program so we could eat pizza for
I
free,
was
even
gonna
though I
say
don't
you have to learn
read.
to read first.
The only Yeah, I know how to read. I've read a book on the toilet one time. I mean, it took me multiple times. That is a running joke that my wife has. That's the only book I've ever read was a book about a walk-on player for Nebraska that Becky knew or that we knew. And I read his book only when I before social media, before my phone that told me everything. I read a book. That's where I read. No, I read other books.
TMI, Tim.
BJ's. Yeah, TMI tip. Uh, so yeah, yeah, we're
So
amateurs.
with
We'll
that
figure
being
this out.
said,
But
Justin, what are you looking forward to this weekend? Whether it's a game or just family time, what are you looking forward to 3 days from now?
well, this weekend I have no idea what's going on. My life involves actually nope. This weekend, scratch that. We have family photos.
Uh,
The one thing I love the best is taking pictures. I am so looking forward to matching outfits and getting my picture taken. Hopefully it won't be 9,000 degrees. Um, it should only be in the 80s. I hope the sun is like right in my eyes, so every picture I have
yeah.
is me squinting.
Shout out to
Um,
Becky. Listen to this, Becky. I hope you're
so
listening. He's loving your family picture time.
yeah, I
You
mean,
can't
who
see the
doesn't? Who
sarcasm at
doesn't
all
love
in
family
this.
photos? But you can hear it, and that's what counts. So we do have family photos this weekend. So sports wise, there's not like I mean I usually sit down and watch sports. I mean I haven't watched very much Major League Baseball this year, so maybe there's baseball on. I don't even know. Like what happens after the Olympics before I mean there'll
Preseason
be
football,
preseason
yeah,
NFL
yeah.
football. Yeah, but who wants to watch preseason
Well, that's
NFL
when the
football right
Broncos
now?
win,
Like
so I'm
nobody wants.
enjoying it. The Broncos, shout out, go Denver.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
The Broncos win with the awful kickoffs that they have now in the
yeah, we can
NFL.
talk about that another time.
Does the well, I mean we can make this first one as long as we want. Just bantering back and forth. But do you think the new kickoff rules happened because somebody found one of those old school football games where you line up everybody and then you push the button and it vibrates and it moves them all? Like, do you think that's how they got the new football kickoff rules? There's like, well, these guys can't run down the field, so we're just going to put them all down there and we'll call it safety, but you need to kick it into this spot. And
No,
um, I mean, I
there
get it.
you're right.
I
Okay,
don't
so
know.
I'm going to speak out of both sides of my mouth because you asked the question. So here we go.
That's fine.
Last
You're
weekend
fine.
was
I'm
Hall of
here.
Fame game, NFL preseason, and if you look at the lineup of who went into the NFL Hall of Fame, one of the Hall of Fame inductees was specifically known for his kick returns. And so when you
Yeah.
put a guy into the Hall of Fame because primarily he was a great kick returner in Devin Hester, then how do you take an element out of the game that is so historic? All I get, people have died because they played football. I get it, and that's a serious issue. Safety is a serious concern. But as you and I were talking yesterday, the safety is so much higher now than it ever was. Why can't these grown men that are playing a sport they've played all their life continue to play all aspects of the game? Give me a kick return
Yeah.
again, please. Give me a kick return again.
Well, the kick return has turned into a big play
Well, that's
all of
what
a
the
sudden.
NBA is
Just
every night. It's all ISO plays.
wow, dude, don't even get me
Yeah.
about the NBA. You live in Nike land over there, and they sponsor all those basketball players that literally. I'm surprised they won gold. Like I honestly, I didn't watch them win gold. I watched a bunch of individuals on Twitter make baskets over guys that are 7 feet tall when they had three guys wide open. But whatever. Um, yeah, I'm really surprised that the Olympic team actually won since it's a bunch of individuals. But yeah, it's not what it used to be, BJ.
we
Like basketball,
we sound
right?
like
Like
old people now.
Jordan and we are. Well, I'm old. Um, yeah. So,
Yeah.
anyways, so yeah, I'll probably watch probably preseason football because it'll be on. My son's playing football this year, so he'll want to watch it. He's a Chiefs fan, so I got to deal with that in my family. I got to deal with the Chiefs fan, and then my best friend's a Broncos fan, and then I have to hear it from that the Cowboys never do anything, so that's
Yeah. Yeah.
fun. And then I'm throw Husker football into that, and I'm just like, oh
Yeah.
my gosh,
It's
no wonder I've aged
yeah,
so much.
it's tough being a sports fan when all your teams are losers, and um, that's been a long story for both of us.
It it's better though that our teams are losers and we're not
Well, that's true.
losers.
Yeah, yeah. Just because you
Yeah, I
lose
mean,
doesn't make you a loser. I should refrain. Yeah.
well, but it would be really bad if we were both
Hmm.
losers because then like our lives would be ugh. Maybe mine is. Maybe I don't know what I'm doing
No.
in life. Huh. This podcast is
Here we
bringing out
go.
everything. This first podcast, I'm questioning everything about life. I don't know what to do.
Oh,
But, no, that's not true. But
well,
so yeah. So what about you? I mean, you said you're gonna watch maybe preseason. I don't even know what the preseason schedule
I
looks
didn't look.
like.
I didn't look either. No,
Um,
this weekend I'm gonna have some family time too. So not family pictures, but um,
oh, you should do fan pictures.
yeah, no,
I'll make a
no,
call. I
I
know
know you do.
somebody.
It's fine. No, I will have some time with my kids this weekend, so I'm excited for that. And I'm sure we will eat some food and some junk food, and that could be what we talk about next time is some junk food choices in your house.
Dude, are you gonna eat that? Have you finished that gift card I bought you from that pizza place
No,
yet?
I have not, and I'm waiting. I won't be able. I can't go with my kids because that pizza place doesn't have gluten-free pizza, and so I have one of my kids that has a
Ugh,
gluten allergy. So um, I know it.
unbelievable. I've this is how good of a friend
No,
I am.
I'm gonna use it on myself. That was for me, so I'm gonna use it on myself. I'm gonna be selfish and use it on myself. I just haven't yet. I moved out of that
Well, I
town,
mean
so
that
I don't frequent there.
yeah, that I should have thought about that
No,
ahead of
it's
time.
great. Thank you. But yeah, I'm gonna have family time. I'm gonna have just a good weekend of time with people I love. So
Well, it's good. And you might if this gets uploaded where I want it to get uploaded in a timely fashion by this weekend and it's out on the podcast website that we're gonna have to create in like a day because we're doing everything like real time, like why plan ahead of time? We literally got a graphic and we signed up for a website tonight to do this recording. So we're
yeah,
doing
yeah.
awesome. Um but yeah, your kids could end up listening to this and they could be like, Dad, we're gonna have to go to
Well,
therapy.
yeah, that's true already. But it could be more true.
Well, but I mean, like, yeah, I mean, my kids are gonna be like, yeah, Dad, you have issues, and well, my wife's gonna say it
Yeah,
automatically, so
we know we
I'm
have
okay with
issues,
that.
but
So,
it's okay because everybody that's listening to this has their own issues, and so
dude,
it
it's
is
documented. It's literally documented about the issues that me and you have
true.
together and separately. But when we are together, like it, like my kids, like you said earlier, literally just
Hmm.
laugh at us talking because we talk about the most randomest things, which is why the podcast started. Because my daughter was just like, you guys, you should be recording this stuff and listening to yourselves talk, and
Well,
yeah, uh,
out of the mouths
just
of
it's
babes.
unbelievable.
So here we are.
Out of babes like the pig, the babe
No.
the pig. Oh, baby Ruth.
Baby Ruth.
Baby Ruth. Oh, Phil, nearby where you live,
Story
by
of
the way.
Oregon. Yeah.
Yeah, story out of Oregon. Baby Ruth, famous Baby Ruths in movies. Real quick, um, Caddyshack had a Baby Ruth in a pool. People thought it was a
Yeah.
big turd.
Yeah. That was a good
Um,
one.
but and then the guy who, yeah, the guy, and then he picked it up and ate it. That was really weird when he cleaned it out. That's how he knew it wasn't a turd. It was a Baby Ruth. Um, I don't know of any other Baby Ruths in
Sandlot, the
movies.
ball is signed
Sorry, I
by
thought I.
Babe Ruth and it gets hit with a
Oh yeah,
monster.
Baby Ruth.
Baby
That's
Ruth.
what.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep. The Beast. The
The
Beast
Beast
got
got
out.
the ball. Um, and then, yeah, I mean, Goonies, you
Yeah.
gotta,
Hey, you guys.
um,
We grew up with somebody that kind of looked like
like a
him.
Goonie.
No, like
Yeah.
Sloth. Yeah, we won't say that name on this
Okay.
podcast.
No, no, we won't.
No, we won't do that because, but we did grow up with somebody like that. He still kind of acts
Yeah,
that way
we're
and
probably
talks
going
that
to get
way.
off of that. That won't take long for deductive reasoning to take over there.
No, but it's
Yeah,
fine. I mean, we got thousands of miles in between us, dude. We're
we're going to
good.
get sued.
Um, go ahead. I don't
Yeah,
have
I
anything.
the same, so it's fine.
Yeah, so you can sue all you want. I
take this
if you're offended by
take this
this,
podcast from us.
yeah, yeah, you could take the podcast. We'll let you have it for free.
So yeah,
But anyways, so yeah, family time. It'll be good. We'll recap all the interesting things and um, yeah. But other than that, I think we're ending it,
yeah.
aren't we? Are we
I think
stopping
we
this
should. I
podcast?
think we should allow people to go take a break or figure out what life really means to them now that they've wasted an hour of their life with us. And here's the thing, maybe it was a relief for you, and we'll come back and talk about some new things that spark our interest. And if somebody asks you what you heard in the media, you could just tell them, hey, I listened to this really cool podcast. It's called Hasn't It Been 3 Days?
Hasn't it been 3 days? Or when you read the graphic, it might say, hasn't three
Yeah,
been
yeah.
days? So, and I would say not lately. And so we'll figure that out. I mean, we're here to let people have fun with it because we're just gonna have fun. And so with that being said, we're gonna BJ's gonna
Yeah.
end
So,
this
I think
podcast and
in
we're gonna be done.
true
So
friendship of quoting movies, we have to come up with the Anchorman sign off, right? So, I mean, you got to be thinking about that. But
an Anchorman sign
he's
off.
Justin. I'm BJ.
Oh,
Has it been 3 days? You put the question mark there.
has it been 3 days? But doesn't he say something about a whale's vagina, like San Diego? All right, okay, we gotta end this stupid thing. We're gonna go everywhere.
I'm Ron Burgundy.
I'm Ron. Don't put everything on the teleprompter. He reads it all.
Yeah, but hey, thanks for joining
Oh,
us. And
yeah,
if you're a sponsor that's listening,
yeah. Thank
please
you.
send us some free gear and some gas cards. So we will talk to you
He
in
said, "Did you say? Did you say gear or
gear or
beer?
both. It doesn't matter. You can do whatever.
Whatever. I mean, we'll barter
Yeah.
for things. I'm looking to upgrade. I'm looking up to upgrade to a bigger house from a paperclip. So we'll see how
Okay.
that goes.
That'll work. That'll
Yeah.
work.
So,
Uh,
all right,
all
people.
right. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next week on Has It
Thank
Been
you.
Three
Yep.
Days?
Have a good one. Has maybe.
Signing off.